After only 2 betas, Apple has just released the RC or release candidate build of iOS 16.3 just 1 week before the launch of the new Apple products and of course the public release. So in this video, we're going to discuss what's new and what to expect next. Now, along with the release of iOS and iPadOS 16.3 RC, we also got the RC release of iOS and iPadOS 15.7.3, macOS 13.2, watchOS 9.3, tvOS 16.3, and HomePodOS 16.3. All right, so let's take a look at the size of this update. And of course, since we did go from a beta to a final release, it is going to be a large update. So 5.3 gigabytes on my iPhone 14 Pro Max. That size will vary depending on the version you're coming from, but if you were on beta 2, that size is going to be pretty large. Now, if you go ahead and check out the build number, settings, general, about 16.3, we can see the new build number is 20D47. And if we look a little bit further down, the modem firmware also has an update. It's 1.41.02. All right, so now what's new here in the RC build of iOS 16.3? And the first thing is what you're looking at right now. So we have a brand new wallpaper called Unity. So this of course is for Black History Month. So if we go into our settings and go to wallpaper and then to add new wallpaper, and if we scroll down a little bit, you will see we have a new section here for Unity, and it says designed by Black creatives and allies at Apple to honor Black history and culture. And we have 2 different wallpapers here. So the first one is this one right here. So you can see at the bottom we have Unity, and we can also change it to black. We have red, orange, green, blue, purple, pink. We have all these different colors we could choose from to kind of customize this to look exactly how we would like it to, which is pretty neat. Now the other one is pretty cool as well because we have 2 different options here. So we have 3 colors or 4 colors, and you can see how the top of the time right there kind of changes as well. So we have kind of a 2-tone time up top, which is pretty cool. I like this one a lot. And this is what it looks like on my home screen right now, and here's what it looks like on my lock screen. You can see that kind of 2-toned time up there. So new wallpapers, pretty cool, and it's pretty interesting that Apple actually mentioned this in the release notes as well. You know, it's a pretty minor update when they literally mention a wallpaper as the first thing that's new in an update. iOS 16.3 RC also adds support for the 2nd generation HomePod. So the new 2nd gen HomePod just got announced today, and this update adds support for that device. Now, there's also a new UI for handoff from iPhone to HomePod. Now, this update also includes a new way to activate emergency SOS. So in previous videos, we talked about how there are multiple verbiage changes here on the emergency SOS settings page. A lot of these have been renamed, the descriptions have been changed and things like that, but there's a new way to activate this as well. So you can see in the release notes, it says it now requires holding the side button with the up or down volume button and then releasing in order to prevent inadvertent emergency calls. So as long as you have this top toggle turned on, basically you just do the same action as like if you were to turn off your phone, but you hold it for a little bit longer and it will invoke that emergency SOS. So I'll do it right here so you can see, there you go. I'm gonna go ahead and cancel that just so it doesn't call emergency services, but that is new here in 16.3. And then of course the biggest feature in iOS 16.3 is going to be the support for physical security keys to add another layer of security for your Apple ID accounts. And you can see it says it has the strongest account security and replaces verification codes. Now keep in mind, you do need 2 different security keys for this to work, one as a primary and one as a backup. But that's another reason I'm kind of surprised Apple released this so early. This is such a major feature that I would think it would take more than 2 beta stages to, get it right, but I guess not. So, I would be careful with that. I may not do that right away. I may not, activate that right away just because it's just launched and you don't want any issues going on. But that is a big new feature added here in 16.3. Advanced data protection is now available to all users worldwide. So this was limited to certain countries at first, but now you're able to have advanced data protection turned on no matter where you are in the world. And of course, this will kind of just encrypt all of your data that was not encrypted before. Apple also mentions quite a few bug fixes in this update. So we have a fix for the black lock screen bug. So that was a bug that I've talked about so many times on the channel where my lock screen would just turn black. It would actually change the home screen as well. And that has been fixed here in 16.3. I also just noticed, by the way, with this wallpaper, with the always on display right here, even when it's all black, you can see that the time is yellow, which is pretty neat. We also have a fix for the issue where the horizontal lines may temporarily appear while waking up iPhone 14 Pro Max. So a lot of users thought this was a hardware issue, but this is proof that it was just a software fix. There's a fix for an issue where the home lock screen widget does not accurately display home app status. So that is not something I have faced, but if you did have that issue, that has been resolved with this update. We also have addresses an issue where Siri may not respond properly to music requests. So I've had this a few times where either it just plays the wrong song completely or it plays like the clean version when I want it to play the normal version of the song. We also have a fix for CarPlay. So it says resolves issues where Siri requests and CarPlay may not be understood correctly. And then we also have a fix for the new Freeform application, a bug in here. So it says fixes an issue in Freeform where some drawing strokes created with Apple Pencil or your finger may not appear on shared boards. There's also some nice changes to the HomePod. So first off, the HomePod Mini now activates the hidden sensor and sound recognition feature. So now you're able to ask basically what the temperature and what the humidity is in the room, and your HomePod Mini will tell you. So that of course has been added. It was like public information with the HomePod 2, but the HomePod Minis had it all along. You were just never able to actually access that information and ask Siri for that information until today with 16.3. We also have some other additions to HomePodOS 16.3. So remastered ambient sounds are more immersive and can now be added to scenes, automations, and alarms in the Home app. We have Find My on HomePod now enables you to ask Siri for the locations of friends and family if they have shared it with you. Recurring home automations can be set using just your voice. Siri confirmation tone will now play to indicate when smart home requests are completed for accessories that may not visibly show a change or are located in a different room. Audio tuning optimizes spoken content such as podcasts for even greater clarity on HomePod 2 and HomePod 1. And then also for the original HomePod, we have updated volume controls that give you more granular adjustments at lower volumes. So quite a few nice changes to HomePodOS 16.3 regardless of what HomePod you have. There's a little bit of something for every HomePod in here. And of course, there are other features in iOS 16.3 as well. I'm just saving those for the final public release video. I don't want to make a duplicate video next week when this gets launched to the public. Now, as far as the performance goes, I am going to run a quick Geekbench test here, but so far it feels about the same as Beta 2. And honestly, I'm not seeing a big jump from 16.2's performance. So performance on 16.2 was fine for me. There was a little bit of stutter from time to time, but I really never had any issues with performance. I had some minor UI bugs and things like that, but nothing related to just raw performance. So we're going to see how those scores stack up to 16.2. All right, so we scored an 1865 on the single core and a 5380 on the multi-core. And you can see compared to 16.2, it is slightly lower in both the single core and the multi-core, but usually when it's that close, that means there's really not a difference at all in terms of overall raw performance. So don't expect any big jumps in performance with this update. And same goes with the battery life. I mean, I don't really need to say more about the battery life. I did just install the RC, so things could change, and I will let you know if they do change. But so far, I would not expect really any change at all with the battery life either. Now, unless you had major battery drain issues, like if you had a big bug where your battery drained overnight, that could be fixed with 16.3. But if you have just normal battery life, you have normal usage, don't expect a big improvement here with this update. All right, so now let's talk about what to expect next for Apple. So first off, iOS 16.3 dropped early because of the Apple products that were announced this week, which obviously we could not have predicted that. Everybody, including Mark Gurman, thought that 16.3 was going to be coming in February or March, but since Apple released these products maybe ahead of schedule, maybe just, caught people off guard, that is the reason they have to release 16.3 to add support for these new devices. And that's why we're going to see 16.3 next week, the week of the 23rd. It could even be right here on Monday, the 23rd. Now, of course, since we are going to get iOS 16.3 next week, that means there is not going to be a 16.2.1 update. The only reason we even said a 16.2.1 could be released is because we weren't expecting 16.3 until February or March. But of course, now since we have 16.3, that takes kind of the place of 16.2.1 and includes all of the fixes that would have been added in that update regardless. So anyways, we're going to be moving on to 16.4, the 16.4 betas very soon, and likely a 16.3.1 before the final public release of 16.4. Now, as far as 16.4 beta 1, I would expect that next week as well. So next week, probably, right after iOS 16.3 gets released, next week is when we're going to see 16.4 Beta 1, and again I would expect a 16.3.1 at some point, most likely in February, and then a 16.4 final release, most likely sometime in March. That of course is just my early prediction, and things could change. But anyways, there you have it. That is iOS 16.3 RC. Quite a few changes actually in the RC build, along with a lot of changes to the HomePod and HomePodOS. So as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, I would appreciate if you give it a thumbs up. Also make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a ton of content coming next week with new iOS versions and a lot of new Mac products as well. But anyways guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.